If you love Chevys, then this is the place for you. This is the Menards Chevy Series, where we tour the country to find the finest race cars and rides that are part of the bow tie breed.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Menards Chevy Series. This time coming to you from legendary New England Dragway in Epping, New Hampshire, a track that is just now celebrating its 50th anniversary. This drag strip opened in 1966, but this time around, you're going to get a chance to see on the pit side of this drag strip some of the most magnificent Chevrolets ever produced. And while the drag strip itself opened in the 1960s, we're going to open with some of the 1960s most classic cars. First up, an impressive Impala gets our nod as the first producer's pick.
It was kept in the garage for 20 years, but it is a complete restoration. The car was completely taken apart, down to every single nut and bolt, and put together, and it took us 6 years, about 2,016 hours to do. The only thing that I've done to the car, which was a big mistake, is I did put disc brakes on it when I first started for a safety version, because when I first drove it, I said, boy, these brakes, how the devil do you stop this thing? So I put disc brakes on it before I knew what I was doing, and I've kept them on it. But you go to the big shows like in Hershey and whatnot, and just not stop.
Is this a matching numbers car?
Yes, outside of that, it's a matching numbers car. In my opinion, all these modern cars look like an egg going down the road. No style, no class, no nothing. I like this because there's very, very few of them around. The 60s and the 59s are very hard to come by.
This 1960 wagon is astonishing, but I know for a fact people always look at the easy stuff, the motor. They don't realize that I'll bet most of the work on this car is in the chassis.
It certainly is. 17 years ago when I bought it on the internet, it was just a daily driver, white with a small block, and I tore it apart and started with the chassis. Here it is now. That's a full air ride suspension, full link rear end with a forward 9-inch, custom bag pockets in the front, one-piece drive shaft. These cars have the X frame in them.
So how long is the one-piece drive shaft?
It's about 64 inches.
The interior is an entire concept, so that must have taken several brains working at once.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, we filled the stock dash in, we did that, that's home built, and then the interior work was done by Don Gay out of Plymouth, Mass.
Motor-wise, I'm going to take a guess. I saw that it was a BDS blower and manifold, so that's kind of keeping it local, but I'm going to guess that it's probably a pretty simple percentage.
It is. That was built by Big Al's Toy Box out of Connecticut. That's a Big Al's 468 stage 4 motor with a 871 and twin 950s. I drive it any chance I can.
No kidding.
Absolutely. I mean, it rides like a dream on air ride. You know, it handles better with a bigger wheelbase like any other vehicle. It's an incredible ride.
The world's lowest bus.
It is. We'll throw 7 people in there. We cruised Ocean City this year, and with 7 people hanging out the windows.
Stay with us. When the Menards Chevy Series returns to New England Dragway, we'll have a pair of performers with historic pedigrees.
This episode of Menards Chevy Series is being brought to you by Dustless Blasting. It's the future of surface preparation. Custom Auto Sound, the originator of classic car OEM fit radio since 1977. Hurst, America's #1 shifter. And by EvapoRust, super safe rust remover.
A beautiful day at New England Dragway.
Welcome back to the Menards Chevy Series. Whatever your tastes in food or fast machines, the Menards Chevy Series has a flavor-packed menu to satisfy your hunger. Here at Epping, the winner of the Rock Auto Restored Award is an absolutely magnificent piece of A, history, B, performance, and C, the General Motors Corporation in general. But there's a little tiny decal on the back of this car that is actually the tip-off to why this car is so special. Kristen, tell them what they're looking at.
They're looking at a 1963 Chevy Biscayne that was set up in the 60s by Nicky Performance out of Illinois, and the car is as it left Nicky's.
For the people that don't know, Nicky Performance was a Chicago-based Chevy dealership that was taken in all kinds of Chevrolet performance cars, but turning them into absolute monsters for some of the biggest names in the sport. Have you been able to trace the history of this one?
We're still working on that, actually. It's not something you can just Google and
right.
get it that way, so it's a work in progress.
You know, there's a lot of registries for the Yenko cars and for other things. Is there a registry for Nicky cars?
Not that we found so far. However, I have been told that we can contact Nicky. That's the goal. Contact them, see what they can tell us about the car.
From a restoration standpoint, did you get it as it sits?
We got it as it sits.
How much work was done to it before you got it? Did you ever see any pictures of how they found it or anything?
Nope. As far as I know, very little has been done to it. It's not the original paint. We don't know when it was painted. We know it was a while ago. That's really it. Like I said, as far as we know, this is how it's been since the 60s.
Absolutely stunning that this is how you used to pick them up. They were the ultimate sleepers, but they were also the ultimate performance cars. They were race-ready machines.
Absolutely.
How long have you actually had the car in your possession?
Roughly 4 or 5 months, I think.
Okay, is this something that you plan on just sitting on until the bubble comes back, I guess we should say, or was this a labor of love that you always wanted?
It's one of those things. I think we'll keep it around for a while, really discover its history, see where it came from, see what it's all about, get as much information as possible, take it from there.
Yeah, in the meantime, I guess you're probably open to anybody that has any leads on this car.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
The winner of the Duracell Crank It With the Copper Top Award here at Epping is a quite deserving ride owned by this guy, Joe Maggio. And Joe, I hate to do this to you, but everybody asks you one question and I have to ask the same stupid question. No. Actually, it had to do with the car. Is it a real Yenko?
Yes, it is. It's documented. It's in the registry. I'm the 4th owner. I've got every title from day one, the matching number motor, and I've had it since 1993. In fact, I just got a hold of the original owner a month ago. I've been looking for him since I've had the car. And I went on the internet, and sure in hell, on this particular site, it had previous addresses, and it said it, and his name matched my titles and the address, and I called him. And much to his chagrin, he sold the car because gas prices were a whopping 80 or 90 cents a gallon.
Right. So you rubbed it in by calling up this poor guy 40 years later and saying, I got your car.
Well, yeah, I do. And he enjoyed it.
Wow. And these cars were the sneaky way around the insurance rates of the muscle car era.
Yeah, because he was making 69 Novas. He only made 300 something of those.
Right.
And he was transplanting 427s in them. Insurance company got on and he couldn't sell them. So he was able to go right through Chevrolet with this thing. It was Copo, and it was listed as a 350 Nova sedan. And back then, the VIN numbers not like today, a VIN number just distinguishes the motor, size, and all that. So that's how we got away with it.
And he was getting away with a sizable increase in horsepower. What was this one rated at?
That says an LT1 350, which is rated at 360.
But you could get away with the insurance papers saying it was a 210 horsepower 350.
Yeah, it could have been a 2-barrel, it could have been whatever, you know. It was a quick grocery getter. It's got 410 rear end, which is kind of scares me a little bit on the highway.
That's heavy on the street.
Yeah, because that tack is really humming at that, so I don't drive it on the highway very much.
What's the biggest number you've turned down for it?
I haven't even, that'll never
You don't even want to hear an offer.
No, I keep track of the auctions, so my kids can go ahead and live extravagantly after I'm gone. That's pretty much what it's going to be.
Our next producer's pick is a wolf in sheep's clothing, a stealthy Supernova. Nowadays, people are building these bad street cars, but they're just advertising that they're super quick. This thing looks like a 14-second car.
Well, I mean, when we built the car, we wanted something that, you know, would go fast and also look good, but we wanted to keep everything compact under the hood. I do like the style of the blowers that stick out. I mean, I think it looks cool and all, but this little system we have over here works pretty well for us.
Have you run this thing down the drag strip anywhere yet?
Not yet, actually. We just got it all together now. We're just doing some test runs on the street with it, just make sure everything's good and nothing's leaking.
How long has it been together?
About a month, maybe 3 weeks. Yeah.
What motor's underneath the Vortec?
It's got a 454 big block, and like I said, with supercharger, it's running about 7 pounds of boost right now. So
yeah, that's nothing. It'll probably still be over 1,000.
Right. I mean, we got a long way to go with it, though. We're gonna go up to probably 10, 12 pounds. The car actually has an alcohol injection system that's it's not hooked up yet. Well, it's in the car.
Right.
We're not spraying yet into it, though. In the future, we will be, though.
But you're still driving it, I might add.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Rear gear, I'm out of curiosity, what's in this thing?
Oh, it's got 411s in the rear end.
Ah, it's nothing right now.
Right.
There's plenty more Menards magic to come from Epping, including a knockout Nomad owned by a New England legend. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Menards Chevy Series. 6 decades of drag racers have called New England Dragway home, and this jewel of the Northeast has rightfully earned its remarkable racing reputation. The history of New England Dragway is a storied one. Back in late 1966, a group of over 120 different racers pooled their resources to build this facility. And indeed, Joe Lombardo is one of the men who keeps the mystery growing here of how many different things you can actually improve upon. But in 2013, you and another group single-handedly completely rebuilt this place.
Pretty much had to, because we wanted to bring the national event in here. I knew the dream of the stockholders years ago, and we said, you know, we just have to do what we have to do to make it happen for them. And in 2013 it did.
Speaking of the show, one of the most magnificent uses of local talent is still in effect here with your Pro 7.0 class, which is being showcased here this weekend. It's a heads-up 7-second flat index class that includes dragsters, altereds, funny cars, and they're all local guys.
They're all local guys, and the guy that really heads it up, Rick Bernasconi, does a great job with that. He loves driving that front engine altered of his. That thing it's just a cool car, and he just marshals the troops and gets them out here every time we have a race.
The history of this drag strip is one thing, but the number of people who have competed at it for more than a half a century is truly astounding. Case in point, a gorgeous 1955 Chevy Nomad drives by, and the man behind the wheel is one of the best known competitors in the history of this track, and in fact his career actually exceeds the birth of this track by what, 15 years?
Absolutely, yes indeed.
Don Roberts started racing when and where?
1963, Sanford, Maine Airport, racing in a B-gas dragster.
And indeed, you ended up driving pretty much every known name nitro-burning dragster and funny car in New England at one time or another.
Yes, I did. There were 20 cars altogether between comp coupes, gas dragsters, nitro funny cars, top fuel dragsters. I was the luckiest guy in the world.
Now, let's get to the Nomad.
I've wanted a Nomad since I was a little kid, and I fell in love with a 56 in the town I grew up in Reading, Massachusetts, and I loved that one until I saw a 55. And I jumped ship and jumped on the 55 bandwagon, and this one took us 60 years to find.
It's a unique stance for a big Nomad.
It was done right. The gentleman that built it is in Minnesota. His name is Jim McGill. He did a great job. He dropped it 2 inches all the way around, and it rides nice and looks good.
The louvers in the hood, did you do those yourself with a butter knife?
No, that was Mr. McGill in Minnesota. Has the patience and the thought and the brain to do that. I couldn't put a louver in anything. I wouldn't dare do it. There's even louvers on the dash. Cut it out, louver it, weld it back in.
What else has been done in the interior?
Nice rolled, pleated Naugahyde, simple, black, effective, comfortable.
The Minty's Top Dog Award is just that, and to win it is a big deal. And at any Menard Chevy Series event, the winner is usually grinning like this guy, but I have to admit, even the judges told us that it wasn't that tough to pull you out of the pack.
Well, that's good to know.
Pun intended, by the way. Tell me about the 1956 Chevrolet that won this whole deal.
All right, well, I bought that back in 1988 when I was still in high school. Didn't look like that.
I can imagine.
Anywhere close. Tore it apart in 1990, finished it about 4 years ago. So
no kidding.
25-year project.
It sounds like a garage project almost the entire time?
Yeah.
Where your friends didn't even believe that you had a 56 Chevy?
A lot of them wondered if I still had it, and were very surprised I still did when I told them I did have it.
Some of the most unbelievable revisionary work that you've done in this car. What was the toughest part?
Paying for it all.
Really?
No. It took a long time, a lot of saving, a lot of support from the family when I disappeared on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm talking just elbow grease. What took the most time?
The toughest part was assembly.
Oh, really?
After finally getting it back from the body shop, I did all the assembly myself. I did all the suspension work and engine myself. So just tedious weekend after weekend.
It comes to the point where you start working on bolts and you forget what they go to and what the whole picture looks like.
Thank God for the owner's manuals,
Yeah,
the assembly manuals. You need them every time.
Here's an interesting question that often produces an interesting answer. Are you satisfied?
Yes.
Really?
Question mark.
I don't believe it.
No, there's a couple more things to do to it.
Exactly. There always is a couple.
They're
more
never
things.
done. But I was glad to get it to the point where I could drive it and enjoy it now. And the smaller projects won't tie it up, for years on end.
That's an amazing amount of work for everybody involved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We like the unusual here at Menards Chevy Series, and when we come back, we'll show you a sports car that rejected a rotary and loaded up an LS. Stay with us.
This episode of Menards Chevy Series is being brought to you by LMC Truck. LMC Truck has the parts you need to keep them on the road. Z-Max, the one product for your engine, transmission, and fuel system. Stage 8, the world's best locking fastener. And by Borla, the world's most winning exhaust.
Welcome back to the Menards Chevy Series show, coming to you from Epping, New Hampshire and New England Dragway. We always manage to find some pretty wild stuff, but how about an all-steel 1950 Studebaker front end welded onto a 1987 Chevy Monte Carlo? It's all Monte Carlo from the windshield back. It's all Studebaker from the front, except, of course, that little 350 Chevrolet underneath the hood. And the color? Well, if you can't identify it, just think of a popular soft drink. It's a pretty incredible truck. And speaking of trucks, here's one that drew some absolutely monstrous crowds at this event. Check out the LMC Truck Life Award winner. The Chevrolet C-Series of pickup trucks are among the most loved of all General Motors products. Let's face it, at least at some point in everybody's life, they either owned one, rode in one, wanted one, or in the very rare cases, had one like this. This guy has put together a C10 that is one of the most magnificent ever, but I have a feeling that's a special option package.
Yes, it's a custom package. It has every option you could have had on the pickup in 1969, including factory air condition, chrome hubcaps, the wood bed. It still has the original build sheet in the glove box. It's a 350 with 255 horsepower. It's all original. It has the original engine, the original transmission. Everything's original on it.
Did you get it like this, or is this your lifelong project?
Well, my wife and I have had it for over 25 years. Wow. We're the second owner of it. It had 18,000 miles on it when we got it, and today it has 24,000 miles on it.
Unbelievable. I have to ask, just like every other human being that walks up to this truck, tell me about the box in the bed.
The box in the bed is my wife's. We used to show horses. She showed horses, and her father actually made the box for her tax supply in there. And now we use it for our cleaning supplies for the truck.
It's a perfect compliment, it really is.
Yeah.
The marker plaque on the side that says 350 V8 is unusual.
That's unusual also, yeah, because it's a custom package. Like
a dealership package, maybe?
Yes, a dealership package.
It only has 30,000 some miles on it. I'm going to guess that the interior might be unrestored.
No, the interior is all new old stock.
Oh, okay.
Everything on the vehicle is new old stock. It's just been repainted. It's the original colors. Right. It's been repainted.
Matches the build sheet all the way around.
Yeah, it's saddle in white. And like I said, it has the original build sheet in the glove box.
Like I said, the C-Series trucks are legend, but very few people have ever seen one quite like this. It is one of the most deserving winners ever of our LMC Truck Life Award. It may be called the Menards Chevy Series, but it only needs to be Chevy powered to be on display at these events. And that's why you're looking at a 1991 Mazda RX-7. With the hood down, nobody's going to know what's underneath that hood, and it is?
6-liter LS motor.
So it's a late model motor?
Yes. Yeah. And I try to keep it incognito. It has a small hood scoop so you can't tell what's underneath there. That's like a factory hood
So
scoop.
you actually did have to do a little cutting?
A little bit of cutting on the hood, yeah.
Is the motor basically stock, or have you done some stuff
no,
to
it's been leaned on some, yeah. It's
Good.
A 370 cubic inch, dynoed about 485 to 490 at the flywheel. And I'm running a Buick Grand National transmission, and then the car has a 410 rear, so first gear is pretty killer. So I run Mickey Thompson drag radials on it, and I run it here a little bit during the Dragway, and a few people have been surprised when they see me go by them.
Okay, so the scoreboards aren't off when you run. Are you willing to tell us?
Yeah, it runs 11 seconds flat.
No kidding.
Yeah.
To win the OPGI Original Award, the car has to be exactly that, original. Mark Sr., how much of this car isn't original?
Just the top end of the motor.
That's it.
That's it.
Everything.
And the wheels.
Okay, the Krager SS's, you're right, Chevy never did offer those. And the BF Goodrich radials came a little bit later. But other than that, everything else is original on this car?
Yes, sir.
What did you do, personally, Mark Jr., to the car to get it in this particular condition to win the OPGI award?
Just kept it very clean, kept it very original.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, the interior could fool anybody. A lot of people think that that's a new old stock interior all the way around, but it's the original stuff.
Original stuff, yep. Seatbelts aren't showing, but they're tucked underneath the seat, pristine shape. So, yeah, everything's original.
Paint?
Original. 39 years old.
Not the vinyl roof.
Yes, sir.
The split window rear glass, that's original too.
All of the chrome is original?
All the chrome's original.
Not re-chromed or?
Nope. Just polished and clean.
I'm speechless.
Molding, everything is original.
People forget, this car's 40 years old. It was in a horrible, horrible place in automotive history, to the point that most people don't even want to collect these cars or resurrect them or even save them. What gave you the reasoning to do this?
Well, nobody has this style Monte Carlo.
For the reasons we talked about.
Yeah, I mean, you see Corvettes, Chevelles, Camaros everywhere, but how many of these do you see? So we've held on to it for a while now.
Motor, what's in it?
305.
2-barrel?
4-barrel.
Oh,
that's
okay.
what we switched over. We switched it from the stock 2 to the 4-barrel.
So that Edelbrock air cleaner, the manifold and the 4-barrel, everything else is a stock bottom end.
Yep.
Yes.
How many miles now?
It's got 95 on it.
Man, you'd never believe that looking at it. Absolutely fantastic job. Very few times have we had such a deserving OPGI award winner.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, that tops off this edition of the Menards Chevy Series, but keep an eye out for when the tour visits a track near you. As you've seen over the past several weeks, it's a guaranteed great time. Next week, we'll be rolling into the Rockingham Dragway to see what classics the Carolinas have to offer. See you then.